Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. We have finally gotten to the point where we are relaunching one of my favorite series on the show, Heroes Always Welcome. In the past, we spotlighted veterans and their transition out of service into civilian life and kind of got feedback and ideas from them to help veterans who sometimes struggle when they come out of the service and get into the crazy corporate world. It's a very different experience, obviously. And for some of them, they've been in so long that military life is the only thing they know. And so the idea behind this was to not only celebrate them, but to give them tools, ideas, input from other vets so that they could maybe blossom or do something different or figure out a way that makes sense for them. And we've expanded now into first responders, anybody who really is a hero in our community. And I'm very excited to launch this with my dear friend. He is a veteran, the one and only Justin King. He's been on the show before, but he's back. And I don't know why, but he has committed, thankfully, to work with me on this reboot. So welcome, Justin. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing good, Ted. Doing good. How are you?
I am great. It's a good day. It's a good day to be alive, and it's a great day to launch this. So we obviously will be filming a little bit, and then we will be debuting these every Wednesday. So keep an eye out. We'll be doing a lot of promo and posts about it. If you are a veteran or in any field that we would consider a hero, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love for you to come on and share your story, your journey, your business, what it was like for you, what it is like for you, because I think it's so important for us to give back and bring people into the crazy world, civilian life. So, Justin, enough of me yammering on. Let's hear about you. Let's refresh the audience's memory and tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm an Army veteran. I did my time in active duty up until about 2010 in the height of the Afghan conflict. I left active duty in 2010, and that was at the time a fairly easy transition because I went into doing the same type of work on the civilian side. I left active duty. I started contracting. I did that for another 5 to 7 years. And then after that, got into law enforcement, which again was a fairly easy transition because it's a fairly similar line of work. Did that up until about 2020, and then I really left into the civilian life. And that transition was significantly more difficult. There's a lot of things, like you said, Ted, a lot of things that are commonplace in the military lifestyle that just aren't the same on the other side, and that transition can be very difficult. It's having to see things through a different lens and overcome some of the things that you wouldn't even think about. But at the same time, that background helps a lot when you're working in a business, especially if you're running your own business, because it gives you a background and a different level of drive and respect for time that I think a lot of people, not necessarily that they don't have, but that they don't think about.
Well, I think your training, from my experience and listening to so many veterans talk, your training gives you this respect for authority, but also organization, and things get done this way. And there's structure to what you do. And out in the real world, quote unquote, there's pretend structure, there's pretend culture, and it's completely different. So talk about that when you finally left and went into what you called civilian life. You said that the transition was difficult. What was difficult about it?
I find even now, I find some of it, the expectations I have for time and for effort and things that I put in. To now, again, I'm fully self-employed, so my expectations drive what I do. But then I find that I also tend to carry those expectations into what I see other people and the way that I feel like they should run things. And part of that is none of my business. But as I am kind of starting my own businesses, I do look at that and people that I look to bring on. And it's something that I have to check myself on, because I do look at it and I say, hey, this is the level that I'm operating at. This is the way that I run things, and I push really hard, and I work into the hours of the night because that's what I know. And so I've had to kind of learn that that's not the expectation I can have with everyone, and kind of find that balance between, where is my drive and where is their drive, and how does the background affect those things?
Well, it's hard too. A lot of the vets who have come out and have said the biggest struggle was you really could depend on people. coming out of the military, and we all have, you obviously, anybody I'm talking to, I know you have friends and people you can depend on, but it's a different level from what I have heard from all of my friends who have been in the military or guests on the show. And so you get out into the real world and you realize, well, corporate really doesn't necessarily care. You're in a culture of a whole bunch of people who maybe care about you, but they're also just trying to hang on to their jobs or hang on to for dear life what's going on. And so it's huge. I had a guest on who shared that they went through several different corporate jobs, big time corporate jobs, where they got great money from their experience, and they were miserable within a month. They just thought, this is not for me. And then eventually, which is what you did, you go out and you become your own boss. So talk a little bit about that. Talk about the why and how that was. Was that also a difficult transition, or was it just super easy since you were the driving force, other than the stuff you shared before?
Yeah, it's definitely been a process. Easy is not what I would call it at all. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with getting out on your own in any sense. And I did several of those corporate jobs, like you said, and I can echo that sentiment as well. And I think part of that comes from, especially when I was in the military, and during the time when we did have several conflicts going on, you made your friends through hardship. I mean, I spent 4 years overseas. And some of the friends that I made during that time, I mean, the people that you sleep in the same place, you eat in the same place, you spend all day together for months, if not years at a time. And those bonds are immeasurably different than anything else you can build being back home. And so that is really hard to replicate, and really hard to find in a corporate lifestyle back in the States.
Yeah.
But as far as starting a business goes, yeah, I found a lot of the same things. I wasn't super happy with the corporate life that I had. It was a paycheck. It was a means to an end, but it was never something that I thought was going to be fulfilling to me.
Right.
So the idea to kind of step out and do my own thing started a couple of years ago, and became fully fleshed out about 6 months ago. I became fully self-employed. So it's the hardest thing I've ever done, but the best thing I've ever done.
So why real estate? Why to that? Because there's lots of things that you can do, businesses you can open, be independent contractor. Why real estate?
I've had an interest in real estate for a very long time. Actually, when I was in training for the military, very early on in the early 2000s, I had an instructor who was a real estate investor, and he started handing me books, in our free time in training. And he said, "Hey, you should look into this with some of your free time and some of your income." And being that I was a junior enlisted soldier in the Army, I had neither free time nor free income. So that wasn't really a possibility at the time, but it kind of sparked an interest. And over the next 20 years or so, I've had a couple of investment properties that I've owned. I've been involved in a few different real estate transactions, and so about 2.5 years ago or so, I said, "Hey, why don't I just go ahead and get a real estate license and kind of build what I'm doing into not just, I want to spend my time and invest and build a real estate business, but I can also be a licensed agent, and build a business that's focused on real estate from that end as well." So to that end, I started as a realtor, like I said, about 2.5 years ago. I've been pretty successful with it, even though I was only doing it part-time. And then about 6 months ago, left my full-time job, and now I'm full-time into just real estate as my sole occupation. And I've taken that and started building a team, and started building it into more of its own business that will eventually kind of stand alone and be able to run itself.
What do you think makes you success? You said you were successful at it even when you were doing it part-time. What is it? Did you have a specific methodology of, this is how I'm going to attack business? Did you have a specific plan in mind where you're only going to go after a certain niche? For realtors who are struggling, or vets who might want to get into real estate, what did you do? What was different?
I did focus a little bit on what I knew, the people that I knew. So I focused pretty heavily on veterans, first responders, people in that community, and I incentivized people to work with me, that were in those communities. I would give them a portion of my commission at closing, for working with me, as my way of saying thank you for what you do, or for what you have done, and I still do that. And that's just something that I like to do. It's by no means something that I'm obligated to do at all. Um, it's just I have the ability to give back, and I think that I can represent people better than anyone else can. So it's a win-win. I can represent somebody, and I can get them, the best deal that they can get, and then I can give a little something back as my way of saying thank you. So I think that helped. I tried to get the word out about that, so it was, like I said, a win-win. I got clients, they got a good agent, and they got a little bit of money, for their efforts and their service. So I think that helped. But I think even more than that was kind of like I touched on before. It was the drive. It was, hey, this is what I'm doing, and there is no turning back.
That's good.
It's if it means I have to sit here in front of my computer till 10, 11 o'clock midnight working on things, and get up at 5 a.m. and work on things. This is what I've chosen to do, and this is how I'm going to be successful. Is I'm going to work harder than everyone else in the room.
I think a lot of that's awesome advice, because I think a lot of agents, anybody who came in like in 2020 and 2021, a lot of order takers then, because it was just an insane market and pretty much anybody could make money. But I think the last 2 years, especially, people have maybe even a little longer have struggled, realtors have, because going out and generating your own business is very different than just having that phone ring, just saying you're a realtor. I mean, it was wild in 2020 and 2021.
I actually, sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
I was going to say, I actually consider myself lucky that I didn't get licensed until after that time, because I didn't experience that, which I know a lot of people made a lot of money then. And that's, I'm happy for them for doing that. But I've met a lot of agents who got licensed during that time who don't know how to do the job. I mean, anyone can do the paperwork, anyone can sell the house. It's the negotiations, it's the farming for leads, it's the nurturing leads, it's things like that that kind of make up the marketing side of the business, and the not the paperwork, but the administrative, like I said, negotiations, those kind of things, that are a lot harder part of the business, that are a lot harder skills to learn. I think my background's helped me out a lot with that, being in a lot of high pressure situations, and being in positions that are very stressful. Those things don't really bother me. They're not a problem. I can have a conversation. I can reach out to somebody. I can de-escalate a situation, and those things just come naturally to me.
I think one of the advantages, many advantages, I think that vets have as far as transitioning to real estate is your solutions people. You have to find a solution. There's no, I'll get to it tomorrow. It's like, I've got to figure this out. And you mentioned it earlier. The vibe I get, it's a different drive. You're not just in general going to lay back and go, well, woe is me, I'm going to try to find a solution. So if something comes in wrong with the closing or the appraisal or what have you, that's not a life or death for you. You've already faced life or death, many of you. So it's a fascinating approach. And I love what you said earlier. You're going to work morning, noon, and night to get it done. And I think there's a lot of people, entrepreneurs and real estate people, no matter what business you're in, is just trying to work 9 to 5 hours or corporate hours when you're running your business is impossible. Yeah. It just really is, if you want to grow and if you want to be sustainably successful. So what do you think about 2025 in real estate? What does your crystal ball tell you?
I wish I had an answer. I think it's an interesting time to be in real estate. I'm hopeful, especially in being here in Florida. There's still a big influx of people coming to Florida. So I think we do kind of have that going for us in the sense that the market's going to keep, at least keep where it's at. I don't think it's going to go down significantly. I do think we have hit a little bit of a stall, but we did just come through winter also. So we'll have to kind of see how the spring shakes out.
Yeah, I feel like people always ask me about rates, right? That's always on everyone's mind. Mm-hmm. And, it's a new year. I'm definitely seeing more inquiries, which is a plus. I think that there's a lot of people, though, who waited, and now their credit history sort of reflects that. And so I think it'll be a challenge. I think we'll have a lot more buyers come into the market. I feel that, but whether or not it takes them right away or they're going to have to take time to get the stuff done is really where the challenge might be. So realtors, I just want to encourage you, when you're out there, please do a little pre-qual on your own. At least ask them if they have any money saved. if they have a job. I get a lot of people after the fact. I'm sure they've signed a BBA, but after the fact that say didn't have any conversations at all, but showed them a bunch of homes and they don't have a job or they have no money saved at all. I mean, the great thing about VA loans is that's a whole nother animal that we can work with. And I know that's an important loan for both of us. It is for me anyway. And so I think it's important to really kind of qualify a little bit. Don't do my job, but do a job of making sure that the people you're showing houses to can afford a house, maybe, or in a position that might be able to get a house. And even if they're not, we're here to welcome them. As we wrap up, let me ask you about the team part, because you've mentioned that a couple of times. Why a team?
So it originally started out of necessity. When I started the idea, I still had a full-time day job, and I found that I was pretty good at marketing, so I was able to bring in leads pretty successfully. But because I had a full-time job, I didn't have time to service those leads. And so I said, hey, well, let me start building a team so that I can then, I can focus on my job and I can pass these leads off to other people. Well, then I made the decision to go full-time in real estate. So now I have more time. I do have the time to handle those leads, but I had already kind of built the framework and I liked the idea. My ability to generate the leads essentially is scalable. So I said, hey, let's just kind of build this as a business and see where it takes us.
I love it. All right. Any words of wisdom before we head out for either realtors or entrepreneurs? Something, sage advice that you either got or that you have learned that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, if you are considering getting out on your own and doing your own thing, there will never be a day that you feel like you're ready. So don't be afraid. Take the step and get out there.
I love that. Amen to that. Listen, same thing we talked about when we had kids. We're never really going to be ready. You're never ready.
Right.
Same thing with a job. Yeah. Listen, y'all, if you're waiting for it or people are telling you all the naysay stuff, but you know in your heart that this is the time, you should take that leap. I agree with Justin. Justin, always a joy to have you on, and I'm excited to spend more time with you every week. You all, if you have a veteran, a first responder, some hero that you'd like to spotlight them and they can share their journey. I think sharing their journey is so cathartic and so helpful for people, not just veterans, but people in general. Every time I do this show, people reach out to me and go, I really felt like I was alone. And the whole point of this is to give you some sort of motivation or inspiration and some tangible ideas on what you can do to transition out of whatever you're in to something bigger and better, hopefully. So Justin, you're a joy. Thank you, my friend, so much. You can reach Justin at that website that is scrolling across the bottom and of course I've tagged him in the show. We'll be back next week, you all. Remember, we're looking for heroes. Please send them to us. We'd love to spotlight them. See you guys later.